You wake up in the dark, and something is already watching you. Two eyes, low to the floor, fixed on your face, perfectly still, perfectly silent. You tell yourself it's nothing, just your cat, doing cat things. You roll over, pull the blanket up, and try to sink back into sleep. And the whole time, you can feel that gaze resting on the back of your neck like a small warm weight. But the real reason your cat watches you sleep is far stranger than affection. And it is far older than your bedroom, your house, or your species' odd habit of sleeping in one long stretch through the night. To understand the stare, you first have to understand what your cat believes you are. Here is the truth. Your cat does not think you are its owner. Your cat may not even think you are a separate kind of animal at all. There is a quiet, well-supported idea in feline science that your cat looks at you and sees, more or less, another cat. A very large one, a clumsy one, a cat that cannot climb, cannot hunt properly, and makes far too much noise, but a cat all the same. That idea comes from John Bradshaw, a biologist who spent decades studying domestic cats and wrote a book called Cat Sense. Bradshaw argues that dogs, over thousands of years, evolved a clear sense that humans are a different species to be read and obeyed. Cats never did. When your cat rubs its face on your leg, raises its tail like a little flagpole, and grooms you with that sandpaper tongue, it is using the exact body language cats use with other cats they trust. You are not being treated like a god, or a servant, or a parent. You are being treated like family of the feline kind. So look again at that figure watching you in the dark. It is not a pet keeping an eye on a person. In its mind, it is a small predator keeping watch over a much larger member of its own colony. One who has, for some baffling reason, gone completely defenseless. Why would that matter so much to a cat? Why watch the sleeper at all? To answer that, you have to travel back about 10,000 years, long before beds and blankets, to a dry stretch of the Near East where this whole strange friendship began. For most of history, no one set out to tame a cat. We know this now because of a genetic study led by Driscoll in 2007. His team traced the DNA of cats from all over the world and found that every single domestic cat alive today descends from one wild ancestor, the Near Eastern wildcat, Felis sylvestris libica. That is a small, tawny, fiercely independent desert hunter. It was not bred by us. It was not captured by us. It walked in on its own. It walked in because of grain. When early humans began farming and storing wheat, the stores attracted mice, and the mice attracted wildcats. The boldest cats, the ones calm enough to live near people, ate well and raised more kittens. Over many generations, those calm cats slowly became the animal now curled, or pretending to be curled, at the foot of your bed. In a very real sense, cats were not domesticated by us. They domesticated themselves by deciding we were useful to live beside. A later study by Claudio Ottoni in 2017, reading ancient cat DNA across thousands of years, showed these cats then spread across the world in two great waves. First out of the Near East alongside early farmers. Later out of Egypt, along trade routes and aboard ships. And there is a grave at a place called Chilorokambos, on the island of Cyprus, where a human and a cat were buried together around 9,500 years ago, lying side by side. That cat did not swim to an island. A person carried it there by boat and kept it close enough that the two of them were laid to rest together. So sit with that for a moment. The animal staring at you tonight is the end of an unbroken line that chose, again and again, to stay near sleeping humans. Watching us is not a quirk it picked up last week. It may be one of the oldest things it knows how to do. But here is where it gets stranger. Because that wildcat ancestor was never only a hunter. A cat the size of yours is a predator, yes. It is also prey. Out in the open, a small cat has to catch mice while staying alert for foxes, hawks, jackals, anything large enough to hunt it in turn. So the feline brain evolved to run two programs at once. Watch the thing you might eat. Watch the thing that might eat you. And in the wild, the most dangerous moments of any animal's day are the moments it cannot defend itself. Sleep is the most defenseless thing a creature ever does. Now think about what your cat is built to notice. Those eyes are not human eyes. A cat can see in roughly a sixth of the light you need, with a wide pupil and a mirror-like layer behind the retina that bounces light back through it a second time. That is why the eyes flash in the dark. That is why the cat is most awake at the edges of the day, at dawn and at dusk, and often at 3 a.m. Night is not a problem your cat is enduring. Night is the world it was designed for. And in that world, the strangest sight of all is you. Picture it from the floor. The largest member of the colony suddenly goes limp, stops moving, stops making sound, lies flat and exposed for hours on end. To a small animal wired by 10,000 years of evolution to track danger, that is not boring at all. That is the single most vulnerable event in its entire world, unfolding right in front of it. So it does the only thing its ancient instincts know how to do. It watches. It guards. It keeps its eyes on the big helpless cat until the big helpless cat stirs and breathes and is safe again. Does that mean the stare is love? Not in the way you might hope. And honestly, in a way that might be better. This is the part that turns everything around. We like to imagine our cats quietly adoring us. The research points to something more grounded and more touching. A scientist named Kristyn Vitale at Oregon State University ran an experiment based on a classic test once used on human infants and on dogs. A cat is brought into a room with its owner. The owner leaves. Then the owner comes back, and researchers watch how the cat responds to that reunion. What Vitale found was that most cats showed what scientists call secure attachment. When the owner returned, the cat treated them as a safe base. It relaxed. It explored. It settled. That is the same kind of bond a baby forms with a parent. Your cat is not indifferent to whether you exist. The opposite is true. It is bonded to you in one of the deepest ways an animal can bond at all. And yet your cat will absolutely ignore you. You already know this. You call its name across the room and it looks straight through you like you are made of glass. That too has been studied. Atsuko Saito, a researcher in Japan, showed that cats can clearly recognize their own names and can pick their owner's voice out from a stranger's. They hear you. They know it is you. They simply decide very often that responding is entirely optional. A bond this deep, paired with a will this independent, is the whole paradox of living with a cat, compressed into a single, unimpressed glance. So put the pieces together, and the figure in the dark changes shape one last time. It is a self-domesticated desert hunter, descended from an animal that chose human company 10,000 years ago. It is a creature that looks at you and sees an oversized, beloved member of its own kind. It is a brain built to track both predator and prey, now fixed on the most defenseless thing you do all day. And it is bonded to you with the quiet, stubborn loyalty of an animal that knows your name, knows your voice, and would simply rather show it on its own terms than on yours. When you wake at 3 a.m. and find it watching, none of those things switch off. They are all running at once, inside something that weighs less than a bag of sugar. So tomorrow night, when you feel that gaze settle on you in the dark, you might read it differently. The stare is not a demand, though it can certainly become one as breakfast approaches. It is not a threat. It is the oldest arrangement your cat knows. A small predator, keeping watch over a large, sleeping, trusted member of its colony, exactly the way its ancestors kept watch beside sleeping humans on a Cyprus hillside 9,500 years ago. You are not being judged in the dark. You are being guarded. You wake up in the dark, and something is already watching you. And now you know. It was never nothing. It was 10,000 years of a wild animal deciding over and over again that you were worth staying beside.